Heavenly Stories.
In a world where hearts were tested like soil under the scorching sun, a lone sower walked along the dusty path at dawn. The air was crisp, and the first light of day painted the fields in golden hues. Every step he took echoed with a purpose, yet unseen to most, his hands carried the promise of life. In his satchel, seeds of hope, truth, and grace waited patiently to be scattered. The sower's eyes, weathered by years of wandering, scanned the ground before him. Some patches were dry and cracked, some lush and fertile, others choked by weeds of distraction and fear. He knew the secret that the earth held: not all soil would yield a harvest, no matter how abundant the seed. Still, he sowed without hesitation, because the power was not in his hands but in the seed itself, and in the hearts willing to receive it. As he began to cast the seeds, the sower noticed the first patch of hardened ground. The seed struck the rock, bouncing off, struggling to find purchase. He paused, kneeling to inspect the soil. It reminded him of hearts hardened by past hurts, doubts, and disbelief. People who hear the word but let fear, pride, or pain block its root. No matter how bright the message, the truth would slip away like water from stone. A pang of sorrow passed through the sower's chest. Yet, he whispered under his breath, even these hearts, one day, the rain will soften them. Moving forward, he reached a patch crowded with thorny weeds. The seeds landed among them, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed like life would sprout. But the weeds grew fast, suffocating the tender shoots, consuming the nourishment the seed sought. The sower shook his head knowingly. Distractions, worries, the love of riches and fleeting desires, they choke the word, keep it from flourishing. He looked up to the sky, and a quiet hope lingered. Some hearts would recognize the thorns, pull them away, and finally let the word grow deep. Then, he came upon a patch of soft, rich soil. The seeds fell easily, taking root immediately, and the sower's heart lifted. This soil reminded him of hearts open and humble, ready to embrace the truth. The seedlings began to sprout, bending toward the light, reaching for the sun, and growing stronger with every moment. The sower smiled, feeling the quiet power of potential. These hearts, he murmured, will bear fruit 100-fold. But even here, the sower knew the journey was not over. The storms would come, winds of doubt, rains of pain, shadows of temptation, but the roots were deep. He imagined the harvest to come: love, mercy, patience, joy, and faith blossoming like golden wheat under the sun. The thought ignited a fire in his spirit. As the day drew to a close, he paused atop a small hill, watching the vast tapestry of soil stretch before him. Some barren, some struggling, some fertile. And he understood, more deeply than ever, that the seed was sacred, but the heart determined the harvest. He whispered a prayer into the wind, a promise to the earth and the people who would one day listen: I sow, you grow. Let the light reach every heart. And just like that, the sower disappeared into the sunset, leaving a trail of hope behind him. But the story was far from over. For every patch of earth he touched, every heart he reached, a new chapter was waiting to be written, one of transformation, faith, and miraculous growth. And now, the journey continues. Are you ready to walk with the sower and see what happens when the seeds meet each type of heart? The next chapter will reveal the struggles, triumphs, and the mysterious power that makes some hearts flourish while others wither. The sun climbed higher, and the sower continued his path, each step echoing in the quiet fields. The soil beneath his feet whispered secrets of the hearts he had yet to encounter. Some hearts were stubborn and cold, yet even they held a spark of life, waiting for the gentle touch of truth. He reached a stretch of ground where the seeds had fallen onto shallow soil over rocks. He knelt, brushing the tiny sprouts with care. They struggled, thin and fragile, reaching for light but unable to sink roots deep enough to survive. The sower sighed, for he knew the hearts he represented, people who hear the word with joy at first, moved by its beauty and promise, but when trials and pain arrive, their faith falters. Like thin soil over stone, their roots cannot anchor them when storms come. The sower's mind drifted to the countless faces he had seen, faces lighting up with hope, only to dim when the winds of disappointment blew. He understood their struggle because he had walked the path of storms himself. "It's not the seed that fails," he whispered, "it's the soil. The heart must open deep enough to survive the storm." Moving on, he noticed another patch, choked with thorns and weeds. Seeds lay buried, suffocating beneath the weeds, longing for sunlight that could not reach them. The sower's gaze lingered on the weeds, sharp and relentless. "These thorns," he murmured, "are the worries of life, the lure of greed, the endless chase for comfort. They strangle the word before it can bear fruit." Yet, even here, he planted more seeds, tossing them gently, knowing that some hearts would one day pull the weeds away, making room for growth. Then came a patch bathed in sunlight, soft and inviting. The seeds fell freely, and tiny shoots appeared, strong and green. The sower's heart lifted. This soil reminded him of hearts ready to receive, hearts that longed for truth and could withstand life's storms. He envisioned their growth, the roots sinking deep into faith, the stems strong with love, the leaves stretching wide with hope. These hearts would bear fruit abundantly, nourishing others with patience, joy, and kindness. As he walked, the sower reflected on the paradox of life. Not all seeds fell on fertile soil, yet every seed mattered. Even the ones that seemed to fail might one day reach soil deep enough to grow. Every heart had potential, even if hidden under layers of fear, sorrow, or distraction. He realized that the sower's work was never wasted, it was a quiet revolution, planting hope where none seemed possible. By afternoon, shadows grew long across the fields. The sower paused, feeling the weight of the day. Each patch of soil represented a story, a struggle, a choice. The journey of the seed mirrored the journey of the heart. Some would embrace the word fully, others would resist, some would be tested and fail, yet others would flourish beyond imagination. And still, the sower walked on. His eyes scanned the horizon, searching for hearts yet untouched, souls waiting for the light. He knew the work was far from over. The next seeds he would cast might fall on rocky ground, choked by thorns, or sink into fertile soil, but each held the same promise: life, hope, and transformation. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, the sower raised his eyes to the sky, whispering a prayer: "May every heart I touch have the courage to grow. May the storms of life strengthen those who are ready. And may the light find even the most hidden soil." And in that moment, he understood the greatest truth: the harvest depended not on the sower, not on the seed alone, but on the readiness of the heart. Some hearts would fail, yes, but others would bloom beyond imagination. And the story of transformation, faith, and miraculous growth, was just beginning. So, are you ready to see what happens when the seeds meet hearts that are truly ready? The next chapter reveals the incredible power of perseverance, faith, and the mysterious force that makes life blossom against all odds. The following morning, the sky was draped in soft hues of pink and gold. Dew clung to the grass like tiny diamonds, and the air smelled of new beginnings. The sower stood silently at the edge of another field. Before him lay the land that mirrored the inner world of mankind, some hearts open, some hardened, some lost between faith and fear. He closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the stillness. "Every heart is a story," he whispered. "Every story begins with a seed." Then, reaching into his satchel, he let the seed slip through his fingers like falling stars, scattering across the earth. As they landed, the scene transformed. He could almost see the hearts they represented. One heart was like a rocky path, proud, untouched by compassion, unable to receive truth because pain had built its walls too high. The sower could hear the whispers: "Why should I trust again? Why believe when life only brings disappointment?" The sower's eyes softened. He knew that behind the hardness was not evil but wounds. Deep, silent wounds. "Even rock," he murmured, "can break when rain falls long enough." A little further, he saw another heart, a shallow one, filled with quick excitement but little depth. It heard the word, embraced it with joy, but as soon as trials came, it faltered. He imagined such a person standing strong one day, but collapsing when the winds of sorrow blew. Faith without roots cannot stand, the sower whispered sadly. The moment heat comes, it withers. Then his gaze fell upon a heart overgrown with weeds. The thorns were thick, wrapping around the tender shoots of hope. Greed, pride, envy, they strangled every attempt at growth. The sower felt the weight of this vision. So many hearts, he sighed, want both the light and the shadows. They love the word, but they love the world more. He pressed his hand to his chest, feeling his own heartbeat. It's not easy to let go of the thorns. But if you don't, they will take everything. As he walked, the sound of the wind carried voices, echoes of people's hearts. Some cried for mercy. Some laughed in disbelief. Others whispered prayers in secret, afraid to be heard. Every voice was different, yet all were connected by one truth: every human heart longs to be filled, with love, with peace, with something greater than itself. And that's when the sower saw it, a field glowing under the light of dawn. Fertile, soft, alive. The seeds he had scattered there yesterday were now breaking through the surface. Tiny green stems reached upward, trembling yet determined. His eyes shone with awe. This, he breathed, is the heart that listens. He knelt down, touching the soil gently. It was warm and moist, full of life. He saw roots beginning to form, digging deep, anchoring the plants against whatever storms might come. This was the miracle of faith, unseen, yet stronger than anything visible. The sower smiled through quiet tears. This, he said softly, is the heart that trusts even when it doesn't understand. The heart that holds on when everything says to let go. The breeze picked up, bending the young plants but not breaking them. The sower stood and lifted his arms toward the sky. Let them grow, he whispered. Let them become trees that give shade to others. Let their fruit feed those who hunger for truth. As the sun rose higher, golden light flooded the field. The sower watched the landscape before him, some barren, some blooming, some still waiting. And he understood something profound: the journey of the seed was the journey of every soul. Growth takes time. Faith takes storms. But love, the divine light, never stops reaching out. He turned to leave, his cloak swaying in the breeze. Yet before he did, he looked back one last time and smiled. The harvest is coming, he said. But only those who endure will see it. The camera of life lingered on the scene, the thriving plant swaying gently, the sun breaking through the clouds, and the whisper of the sower echoing through eternity. And so the story continues. What happens when the storms arrive? What becomes of those hearts when the heat of testing burns bright? The next chapter will reveal how the word survives, or perishes, when life's trials truly begin. The sky began to darken. What had once been golden sunlight now turned into a deep, restless gray. The sower stood at the edge of the field as thunder rolled across the heavens like a warning. He had seen this before: storms always came. And it was in these storms that the truth of every heart was revealed. The wind picked up, bending the tender plants. The first drops of rain struck the soil, sharp and cold. The sower's cloak whipped in the air as he looked across the landscape. Each patch of ground, each seed, each sprout, they would all now face the same test. The seeds that had fallen on the rocky ground were the first to struggle. Their roots were too shallow, their faith too fragile. When the rain hit, they wavered. The heat from past days had already weakened them, and now the pounding storm washed them away. The sower watched, sorrow in his eyes. They heard with joy, he whispered, but never grew deep enough to endure. Further away, among the thorny soil, the sprouts twisted in confusion. The rain fed them, but so did the weeds. As the storm raged, the thorns grew stronger, drinking greedily from the same water. Their spines cut into the fragile plants, wrapping tighter until the green stems bent and broke. "The worries of this world," the sower said softly, his voice trembling. "They suffocate the word before it can bear fruit." Lightning split the sky. The storm was merciless. Yet in the middle of it all, there was a light. The fertile soil, the good ground, held firm. The plants there trembled but did not fall. Their roots ran deep, anchored in something unseen but unshakable. The sower's heart lifted. "Yes," he breathed, "this is faith. Not the absence of storms, but strength through them." Rain poured like a flood now, soaking everything. The sower stepped into the field, his feet sinking into the mud, his hands outstretched as if to protect the fragile life before him. His voice rose above the thunder. "Hold on. The storm is not your end, it is your awakening. The rain that threatens to drown you will become the very water that makes you grow." The words were not for the plants alone, but for the hearts they symbolized, the souls watching from afar, those walking through storms of their own. Hours passed. The storm began to fade. The clouds broke apart, and a single beam of sunlight pierced through, shining directly on the field. The aftermath was breathtaking. The rocky ground was bare, nothing remained. The thorny soil lay tangled and lifeless. But in the fertile ground, green life shimmered under the golden light, stronger and more radiant than before. The sower knelt, his knees pressing into the wet soil, tears mixing with the rain. "This," he whispered, "is what faith looks like after the storm. Not perfect. Not untouched. But alive." He gently brushed a surviving plant with his fingers. Its stem had scars where the wind had torn it, but the roots were strong, and new leaves had begun to form. "You survived because you were rooted in truth," he said softly. "You didn't escape the storm, you grew through it." The sky cleared, revealing a breathtaking sunset, pink, gold, and crimson blending into the horizon. The storm had tested every seed, every heart, and now the field glowed with life that had been purified by trial. The sower stood tall again, his cloak heavy but his spirit light. He looked toward the horizon, where other fields waited, hearts still untouched, still yearning for truth. "There will always be more storms," he said quietly, "but there will also always be seeds." As he walked away, the camera of the soul lingered on the field, a silent testimony that faith, once rooted deep, cannot be destroyed. The light faded, the wind calmed, and the earth seemed to whisper, "The harvest is coming." And now, the story turns toward the miracle of growth, how the seeds that endured will multiply, transforming not just the field, but the world around them. Are you ready to see what happens when faith bears fruit? The storm had passed. The air was fresh and filled with the scent of wet earth and promise. The sower stood still, watching as sunlight spilled across the fields like liquid gold. Every drop of rain that had once threatened destruction now shimmered with purpose. What had been a battlefield between faith and fear was now transformed into a garden of life. He walked slowly between the rows of green. Each plant swayed gently in the breeze, scarred but strong. The scars told stories, of struggle, of endurance, of hope that refused to die. "This," he murmured, "is the fruit of faith." Days turned into weeks. The field that once looked barren began to hum with life. Birds sang above, butterflies danced between blossoms, and the once quiet soil now pulsed with color. Every seed that had taken root produced more than anyone could have imagined, some 30-fold, some 60, some 100-fold. The sower smiled, watching the miracle unfold before his eyes. "The word," he whispered, "never returns empty." He sat down on a rock at the edge of the field, gazing at the horizon. His hands, weathered and rough, still carried traces of soil beneath his nails, the evidence of his calling. He thought about the different hearts he had seen, those hardened by pain, those shallow in conviction, those tangled in thorns, and those open and ready. Every heart had a choice. And though not all had borne fruit, the sower had learned something profound: even a single fertile heart could change an entire world. For that one heart, once transformed, would scatter new seeds, seeds of kindness, forgiveness, mercy, and faith. One life changed could inspire 1,000 others. That was the mystery of the harvest, it never stopped growing. The sower's thoughts drifted to those who still wandered, searching for meaning in rocky places. He prayed silently, let them know they are not forgotten. Even hardened ground can soften. Even hearts bound by thorns can be freed. His eyes filled with quiet tears, not of sorrow, but of gratitude. For every life touched by the word was a victory that echoed in eternity. As the sun dipped lower, the sky burned orange and crimson. The sower rose to his feet and lifted his eyes to the heavens. The harvest is ready, he said aloud. But not just here, everywhere a heart opens, the kingdom grows. He began to walk again, his figure glowing in the last light of day. Behind him, the fertile field swayed like a sea of gold. Each stalk of grain represented a life changed, a heart reborn. The sower's journey was far from over, for new lands awaited him, new hearts, new soil, new hope. And as he disappeared beyond the hill, his words echoed through the wind. Keep your heart open. Guard it well. The word you receive today could become the miracle someone else needs tomorrow. Silence followed, broken only by the rustle of wheat in the wind. The field glowed, alive with divine energy, a living symbol of what happens when the word finds its home in the right heart. A voice seemed to whisper from above. The seed is truth. The soil is the soul. The harvest is love. And that was the mystery of the sower, a story not just about a man in a field, but about every one of us. For the sower walks through time, through generations, scattering seeds of faith in every era, every land, every life. Maybe, even now, he walks beside you. Maybe the soil he seeks is your heart. The screen would fade to golden light, the same light that began the journey, and the story would close with a single question that lingers in the mind long after the final word is spoken. What kind of soil is your heart? The sun had set, but the memory of its light lingered over the fields. The sower was gone, yet the rhythm of his footsteps seemed to echo in the wind. The golden wheat swayed softly under the stars, whispering stories of transformation, stories of hearts that once were broken, barren, or lost, but now bloomed with life. In the stillness of night, the earth breathed peace. The harvest was complete, yet the true work was only beginning. For the seeds the sower had planted were no longer bound to the soil, they had found homes in the hearts of people. In the city streets, a man once bitter and cold stopped to help a stranger for the first time in years. In a small home, a mother who had lost all hope whispered a prayer, feeling a warmth in her chest she couldn't explain. In a quiet church, a young girl lifted her voice in song, her heart blooming like the first flower after winter. Each act, each whisper, each tear, they were seeds. The word had taken root not in the earth, but in human souls. And through them, the sower's work continued. Somewhere beyond the fields, a voice, gentle, eternal, spoke through the night. The harvest is not the end, it's the beginning of love multiplied. And in that moment, it became clear. The parable was never just about soil or seed. It was about the condition of the heart, your heart. Every day, seeds of truth are scattered across your life. Some fall on paths hardened by disappointment. Some land among the thorns of distraction. Some never find the courage to grow. But some fall into open hearts ready to change, to forgive, to believe again. The sower's story is your story. Every trial you face, every storm that shakes your faith, every tear that falls, they are not signs of failure. They are the rain that waters your growth. Because the seed of truth can survive anything, if the heart is willing to receive it. The camera of eternity slowly pulls back, showing the vast fields under the night sky. The stars shimmer like endless seeds of light, scattered across the heavens. And a quiet voice, perhaps the sower's, perhaps God's, whispers one last truth. Your heart decides the harvest. The wind picks up, carrying the sound of rustling wheat, soft, steady, alive. It's as if the field itself is breathing a message to anyone who listens. Keep the soil of your heart tender. Pull out the weeds of fear. Water it with faith. And when the storms come, stand firm. A single beam of moonlight touches the field, turning it silver and still. Somewhere, a seed bursts quietly beneath the surface, new life beginning again. The cycle continues. Because the story of the sower never truly ends. Every generation, every life, every moment of choice becomes another chapter. And maybe, right now, the sower is walking through the fields of your soul, scattering words of grace, forgiveness, and truth. The final frame fades to black as the narrator's voice lingers. You are the soil. The word is the seed. Let it grow, and the world will never be the same. A pause. Then the last whisper, soft but powerful, like a heartbeat in the dark. What kind of heart will you choose to be?